a drunken phone call, a wife scorned, a secret recording that would destroy a president. David Santillan led the Mongols Motorcycle Club through its most brutal federal battle. But in June 2021, his wife captured him on video, making a confession that would shake the entire organization. He mentioned an ATF agent. He talked about protection. He spoke of an exit strategy. Within days, the club branded him a rat. The question wasn't just whether their president had betrayed them. The question was whether his alleged cooperation had rigged the trial that convicted them all. Connection. Loop. To understand how one recorded conversation nearly overturned a decade-long federal prosecution, you need to understand the war that brought the Mongols to their knees. This is the story of Operation Black Rain, a federal racketeering conviction, and the president whose downfall threatened to unravel everything. Main narrative. The Mongols Motorcycle Club emerged in 1969 in Montebello, California. Hispanic riders formed the club after the Hells Angels refused them membership. By 2008, the club had expanded internationally with chapters across multiple continents and an estimated membership exceeding 600 riders. The federal government had been watching. The Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms and Explosives launched Operation Black Rain in 2005. 4 male ATF agents infiltrated the Mongols and achieved full-patch membership status. 4 female agents posed as their girlfriends, attending parties and establishing their covers. The agents lived away from their families in residences designed to mirror the Mongols' lifestyle. They underwent background checks conducted by private detectives hired by the club. When one agent finally received his patch, a Mongols member delivered a chilling message. Being a Mongol promises you one of 2 things: death or prison. On October 21st, 2008, the operation culminated in coordinated raids across 6 states. Federal and local authorities executed 110 federal arrest warrants and 160 search warrants. Over 1,500 law enforcement officers participated in sweeps across California, Nevada, Oregon, Colorado, Washington, and Ohio. Dozens of customized Harley-Davidson motorcycles were confiscated and lined up outside the Los Angeles Police Department headquarters. Among those arrested was Ruben Doc Cavazos, the club's former national president. Cavazos had published a memoir titled Honor Few, Fear None, just months before his arrest. He was accused of embezzling nearly $200,000 from the club by pocketing money intended for background checks on new members. 38 members were immediately taken into custody. The charges ranged from murder and attempted murder to drug trafficking and assault. The federal indictment painted the Mongols as a criminal enterprise. Prosecutors presented evidence of cocaine and methamphetamine distribution networks. They documented violent confrontations with rival motorcycle clubs, particularly the Hells Angels. One incident stood out in its brutality. On September 3, 2008, Christopher Ablett, a member of the Mongols Modesto chapter, traveled to San Francisco carrying a foot-long military knife and a .357 Magnum revolver. He wore his full Mongols vest into a Mission District bar. Mark Papa Guardado, president of the San Francisco Hells Angels chapter and an advisor for the television show Sons of Anarchy, learned that a Mongols member was on his territory. Guardado confronted Ablett outside the bar. A fight erupted. Guardado was shot twice and stabbed 4 times. He died from his injuries. Ablett fled on a motorcycle and disappeared for over a month. On October 4, 2008, he walked into a police station in Bartlesville, Oklahoma, and politely surrendered himself. He was extradited to California. In February 2012, a federal jury convicted him of murder in aid of racketeering. Ablett received 3 consecutive life sentences. The aftermath of Operation Black Rain was devastating for the club. 77 Mongols members pleaded guilty to violating the Racketeer, Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act. Cavazos pleaded guilty to racketeering charges and received a 14-year federal prison sentence. But federal prosecutors wanted more than individual convictions. They sought to destroy the club's identity itself. In 2013, the government filed a new case targeting the Mongols as an entity. The goal was unprecedented: seizing the club's trademark logo and preventing members from wearing their patches. David Santillan had joined the Mongols in 1997. By 1998, he earned admission to the Mother Chapter, the club's governing body. After serving a year in federal prison for mail fraud, Santillan returned in 2000. In 2010, he was elected national president. He became the public face of the Mongols during their legal battles, repeatedly stating his efforts to reform the club. The 2018 trial stretched over 5 weeks in a Santa Ana federal courthouse. Prosecutors presented testimony about violent confrontations between the Mongols and Hells Angels across California. They documented the 2002 Laughlin Casino brawl that left 3 people dead. They detailed drug trafficking operations moving methamphetamine and cocaine across state lines. Throughout the trial, both Santillan and ATF Special Agent John Ciccone attended court sessions daily. Ciccone had led the investigation against the Mongols for years. At one point, a juror reported seeing Santillan and Ciccone together at a Starbucks located half a block from the courthouse. Santillan dismissed it as a chance encounter. This observation would later become crucial evidence. On December 13, 2018, the federal jury delivered its verdict. The Mongols Motorcycle Club was convicted of racketeering and conspiracy to commit racketeering. The jury found that the organization constituted a criminal enterprise responsible for 1 murder, 1 attempted murder, a narcotics trafficking conspiracy, and 2 methamphetamine transactions. The conspiracy conviction validated multiple additional violent incidents, including 5 homicides, 9 assaults, and numerous drug transactions. Defense attorney Stephen Stubbs argued that all the crimes occurred under previous leadership. Current President David Santillan called the crimes individual acts rather than organizational policy. When asked if the verdict surprised him, Santillan replied, "No, they had been prepared for the outcome." In January 2019, the jury moved to the forfeiture phase. They determined that the club's trademark logos should be seized by the federal government. This unprecedented ruling would have allowed law enforcement to confiscate patches and vests directly from members. However, U.S. District Judge David O. Carter later nullified the forfeiture verdict. He ruled that seizing the trademarks would violate First Amendment rights to freedom of expression. In May 2019, Carter instead fined the organization and placed it on 5 years of probation. The Mongols retained their trademark rights. Then, everything changed. In June 2021, David Santillan's personal life was collapsing. He had engaged in an extramarital affair. His wife Annie was devastated. The couple separated. David's mistress began harassing Annie and her children. On a June evening in 2021, David called Annie seeking reconciliation. He was intoxicated and emotional. He sobbed into the phone, declaring his love. He promised to get treatment for his addictions. Annie recorded the entire conversation without his knowledge. The conversation shifted to ATF agent John Ciccone. David's words would become the most controversial statements in the entire Mongols legal saga. He told Annie that John had given him a timeline. 1 year, Ciccone was retiring. After 1 year, he couldn't protect David anymore. They needed an exit strategy. Annie was furious. She sent the recording to 2 other Mongols members along with a text message. The message was explosive. She wrote that David had been working with the government the entire time. She called him a confidential informant. She called him a rat. The recording detonated within the organization. On December 10th, 2021, Mongols attorney Joseph Yanni filed a motion for a new trial. The motion argued that Santillan had served as a confidential informant for Ciccone and had sabotaged the club's defense. Yanni claimed this represented a catastrophic invasion of attorney-client privilege. The club held a closed-door meeting. Santillan was not permitted to defend himself. The Mongols stripped him of his title and excommunicated him from the organization. The man who had led them through their most significant legal battle was now branded as the ultimate betrayal. Judge Carter scheduled hearings to examine the allegations. Between June and October 2022, the court held 8 separate sessions. Santillan testified that he joined the club in 1997 and rose through the ranks over 2 decades. He acknowledged speaking with Ciccone on multiple occasions, but characterized these interactions as public conversations at motorcycle events attended by other club members. He explained that after the 2018 trial, he went to an ATF building to collect Mongols property. Ciccone mentioned he was retiring and suggested Santillan consider retiring from the club as well, because Ciccone's replacement might not be as fair. Santillan adamantly denied ever serving as a confidential informant. He denied sharing defense strategy with federal agents. When asked directly by the U.S. Attorney's Office whether he was ever any sort of informant for the ATF, Santillan's answer was unequivocal: absolutely not. Ciccone provided sworn testimony supporting Santillan's account. The retired agent stated that his conversations with Santillan occurred in public settings in front of other Mongols members. The purpose was to demonstrate ATF presence at their events. Ciccone denied that Santillan ever provided trial strategy or served as a confidential informant. Law enforcement officials from multiple agencies testified during the hearings. Representatives scoured informant databases searching for any record of Santillan as a confidential source. No evidence emerged. Despite months of testimony and extensive investigation, nothing supported the claim that Santillan had cooperated with the government. Annie Santillan returned to court with a dramatically different story. She testified that she and David had reconciled. She admitted she didn't know what her husband was talking about in the recorded phone call. She acknowledged that she sent the recording and called him an informant solely to destroy him in the eyes of the Mongols. She wanted him to feel the shame and betrayal that she had experienced. Her intent was revenge, not revelation of the truth. Federal prosecutors filed motions urging Judge Carter to deny the request for a new trial. They noted that the court had permitted multiple days of testimony spread over several months. No witness or piece of evidence supported the claim that Santillan was a confidential informant who provided trial strategy to the government. On October 6, 2022, Judge Carter issued his ruling from the bench. He acknowledged that the allegation against Santillan had a stench to it. However, he stated there was no evidence supporting the claim. The judge referenced the horrific nature of the crimes at the heart of the 2018 trial. He noted the magnitude of the murders, the narcotics dealing, and the war between the Hells Angels and the Mongols. There were simply too many murders. Carter stated that the notion the Mongols could be acquitted in another trial was something the court had a very difficult time believing. He denied the motion for a new trial. The 2018 racketeering and conspiracy convictions stood. David Santillan's fall from power became a cautionary tale about loyalty and betrayal. Whether he actually betrayed the Mongols or simply maintained a pragmatic relationship with law enforcement remained a matter of perspective. What was certain was that a drunken phone call and a scorned wife had exposed relationships that would have remained hidden otherwise. The case established precedent about how far the government could go in dismantling criminal organizations. While Judge Carter prevented the seizure of the Mongols' trademark on constitutional grounds, the underlying convictions remained intact. The club continues to exist under federal supervision. The patches still ride on California highways, but the organization carries the permanent brand of a racketeering enterprise. Did the Mongols' president cooperate with the ATF? The federal courts concluded he did not, but the suspicion created reasonable doubt within the organization itself. In the world of outlaw motorcycle clubs, where loyalty means everything, David Santillan's presidency ended not with proof of cooperation, but with the appearance of impropriety. And in that world, appearance and reality blur into the same fatal conclusion.